Patrick Connelly, uh, born and raised in Buffalo, New York. See, when I came from Buffalo, I'll start off with school back there. I went to a community college, 2 years, got an engineering science degree. From there, I took some time off, did a little traveling. Went to Ireland, spent about 6 months over there. After that, I came back to Buffalo, worked there for a while, and headed off to Colorado for 3 months, worked with my brother there. Then I came out to California, finished my schooling, got my degree at Northeast University. From there, I came to PRC, where I currently work at NASA. Work at PRC at NASA. Let's keep that straight. I've been out here since '89. See, I got married about 3 years ago. I have 2 children. Allison Marie is 4, well, she'll be 4 in July, and Sean Patrick, will be 2 in November. And I'm currently working in the flight control section, the F-18 HARV. I've been on that project since now here. And that's gone reasonably well. My whole career has been here. So it's hard to relate that to other places. You know, I've worked in Ireland on a fishing trawler, but this is the first technical job I've had. And it's going well. Plans for the future are, up in the air. Take it as it comes. Other things I could tell you about.
Tell us about the fishing trawler. That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I went to Ireland. My goal was to work on a trawler. And I went with a friend originally. He had some family in England. From there, we went to Ireland. And we split up because we had an agreement that we would always do. We would go wherever we wanted to go. We got to a spot and wanted to go different ways, and we'd say, adios. And I worked in the trawler for 6 months, well, actually about 5 months. And it went well. It was a great experience. A memorable travel experience. Well, I'm going to go back to my Ireland trip because that was my most memorable traveling experience. I was approximately 20 years old, and it was a time in my life when I'd been with my family my whole life, and I wanted to go out in the world myself on my own and find out that I could make it. I was able to, go out with no help from anyone. So what I did, I took a bicycle, backpack, a sleeping bag. I had a one-way ticket, and I had $800 in my pocket, and I went to Ireland. My objective was to, again, get a job. After doing some traveling, I went with a friend of mine initially. We went to England, and we stayed with his aunt for about 2 to 3 weeks. Did some things in London. From there, we went and moved on. Took a ferry to Ireland, and just started traveling around on our bicycles. The plan was to go wherever we felt like going. If we ever wanted to separate, we would go different ways. He eventually wanted to go on to Germany. He had relatives in Germany where he wanted to spend some time with. I, again, wanted to work on a fishing trawler. So we spent probably a month just traveling around Ireland on our bikes. We'd sleep wherever we felt like sleeping. That was the objective, to whatever, not have to worry about anything other than where I'm going to sleep and what I'm going to eat. I did find out that with those things to worry about, that you have some serious concerns. And that's when you need to figure out what you're going to eat and where you're going to sleep. But eventually I did get a job on a fishing trawler through some persistence. I stayed on the trawler for about 4 months and made a lot of money. I came home with more money than when I left. From there I finally said, okay, that's enough fishing. It was a hell of an experience. I met a lot of people. I worked in an area in Ireland where they still spoke the native language, which was Gaelic. It was difficult because their English is very broken. The skipper of the boat would be barking out commands, and I'd have to say, what? He didn't like that. But it went very well, and I met a lot of friends, and then did some more traveling about Ireland, and then came home. And the whole trip was awesome. Thank you. My name is Patrick Connelly. I'm going to give you a quick preview of my career, which includes, I'm going to begin from previous jobs I've had to the current job I have now, and potential future plans. My career began, I'll start way back. I had jobs through school, which include construction. I worked at a car wash in high school. I worked in sales a little bit. I did a lot of odd jobs, things like that. And these these jobs were done all the way through my educational process, which was the real goal was to get an education to get a job in engineering. My first schooling was back in Buffalo, where I grew up, in a community college. It took a 2-year degree. It took me 2.5 years to get through it. It was an engineering science degree. After that, I took a year off, did some traveling, did some other things. Came back to school out in Los Angeles at Northrop University and finished my Bachelor's of Science degree in aerospace engineering. And that took another 2.5 years. And my whole process there was about 5 years to get a 4-year degree. But it was okay. I was in no major hurry. From there, my goal was to get a job, and a good job. Because a lot of people get out of school and they don't get a job in the career that they've trained for. Well, I was very fortunate and wound up with a job at TRC, working at NASA, Dryden, with airplanes, right in the field that I studied for, with airplanes. My degree, by the way, was aerospace engineering. I was very fortunate and very excited to have this option to do this job. I've had that job for 6 years now, and I've learned a great deal, considering when I first came in, the knowledge you have with a Bachelor of Science degree just really touches the surface. Since then, I've been able to focus on a specific area in aerospace engineering, which is in flight control. My future plans are to become an excellent flight controls engineer, to be able to take an aircraft and have someone say, we need this to fly, and design a control system to allow this thing to fly and meet certain criteria. And that's what my future is. Right now, I'm currently working on a Master of Science degree in mechanical engineering with a major in flight control. And that wraps up my career. I went over my past jobs briefly, which includes education, which was a big push to get into where I am now. Present job and future plans. Thanks, Patrick Connelly. I'm going to speak on the process today about taking a control off from design, from conception to all the way to flight. And there's 3 main topics involved with that. The first is the design, the implementation, and the testing involved to take it, the test involved. Those are the 3 processes.
Slow down with the eye contact. Lock on to people. Hold it for a moment.
The first one is the design. In control of design, there's requirements that are laid out depending on the mission of the vehicle. Let's say it's a fighter. That would require a different requirements than if it was an aircraft that's going to do high altitude research. So that mission has to be defined and all those requirements laid out for the designer to take that into consideration when they come in with a design. Okay, at that point, let's assume they have their first run through in the design. The next step is then to implement it into some type of utility like simulation, like Nick would be familiar with, where it can be worked and evaluated. In the sim, you would then uncover deficiencies, potential things that were overlooked, that at that point you would identify, go back to the design, and compensate for those things that were overlooked. And this is an iterative process. This may go on as many times as required. When that's done, you take that another step would be into a closer simulation. From, let's say the first thing is a batch simulation. The second step would be a hardware in loop simulation, which is a very close resemblance of the actual aircraft. And you may uncover more things in there, such as there would be time delays that aren't modeled in the initial simulation, and may uncover more deficiencies. And again, it's an iterative process. You would evolve from first conception through the work involved to keep updating the design to meet the requirements. The last phase is, again, all the testing involved, and that's where, which I've kind of talked about already, that's where all these deficiencies are uncovered. When that's all done, hopefully you have a good product, and you can take it to flight, and with all luck, you've uncovered all the deficiencies and potential problems that could result in problems. So in review, this is 3 steps, major steps, and there's a lot more detail involved with taking the control off from conception all the way to flight, which is design, implementation, and all the testing involved.
There we go.
So, I'm going to speak today about conservation briefly, and specifically about water conservation. A lot of people will say that it doesn't pay to conserve water because there's a lot of water in the world. As a matter of fact, it's over 90% water, I believe. And I'm going to argue that that is not true, and that it is important to conserve water, and it's very easy to conserve water. Fresh water is a natural resource that is it's limited, and it's in very great demand from everyone. An average family of 4 uses approximately 400 gallons of fresh water a day. That's a lot of water, and people do not realize how easy it is to use water. And now the easy thing is to conserve water, and I'll give everyone a couple examples of how you can conserve water, which does not really require a lot of effort. One example, let's say when you're brushing your teeth. You don't have to have the water on constantly. You can brush your teeth, turn it on and off, and you probably save 8 gallons if you take a minute or two to brush your teeth. Another one is when you water your lawn. A lot of people will have sprinklers running 15, 20 minutes, and that's okay if your lawn requires that much water. But if you watch, if you would do is go out and watch the water, and when it starts running off the lawn into the street, that's it. That's the time, the maximum amount of water your lawn can take. It's saturated, the water's running into the street, into the gutter. You turn the sprinklers off. So time not to go on for that long during the heat of the summer. In the spring, you don't need the water that much. Turn them down. Other ways I've seen a lot of people, when they have hoses and they're washing their cars with no cap. They're done, they throw the hose down and the water runs and runs. And if we want it, they take it back up. Buy a cap for your hose, put it on there. So when you want to use water, you hold the handle. When you don't, you set it down, the water doesn't run. It's very easy to conserve water, and it's something that people should work on because it's a limited resource. And if you don't believe it is, during the drought, take a drive up north to some of the reservoirs, and you can look that they're down hundreds of feet, 100 feet below what they're normally down. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and urge everyone to please conserve water.